And now, the moment you've all been waiting for.
You don't believe his portrayal of that person who existed?
No, I think he took the person, the core of the person, and then exaggerated the hell out of it to make a interesting movie.
And how well do you know the guy that he was?
We're members of the same country club, and we often do a few rounds together on the golf course. And, so I can say from first-hand experience, it's bullshit.
Good evening and welcome to Is It a Bicycle? Season 10, Episode 5, the original and bestest ever TV and movie podcast. My name is Stephen Wrigley and I'll be your host for this evening. Beside me I have a man who says Velcro is a rip-off. It's Mike McDonough. Live from Vegas, we have a man who says he puts the fun in fungal infection. It's Sean Leonard. And in the red corner, it's our cuddly killer. A man who says pen is mitered in stores. Haha, I said penis. It's Mark Superhero Leonard. This week we'll be discussing some movies in the shape of The Big Short and Spotlight, and some TV in the form of X-Files. This week, Sean will be giving us a rundown on his visit to the Sundance Film Festival, and we'll have some previews in Coming to a Bicycle near you. So how are we doing?
Fantastic, Steve.
Tubular.
Mark, have you got a TV yet?
So,
what's going on?
I got a call. I missed, actually, a call from a customer at work, right? And they left me a voicemail. Because I'd missed it, I said, I'll check the voicemail first just to see what their level of anger is first.
Right.
As I was doing that, I realized that I had, in fact, 5 voicemails.
Ah.
Oh.
And when I got to voicemail number 3, it was from an allegedly helpful gentleman who was supposed to send me a check. And he so foolishly, gave me his mobile number.
Uh-oh.
So I rang this guy back, right? I'm just going to say his name is George.
3 a.m. the following morning.
So I rang George, right? And he picked up and said, hello. And I said, George, we meet again. And he goes, who's this? And I said, this is Mark Leonard. And I waited because immediately now, because the familiar greeting and because I get my full name, he's going to go, oh no, who is this?
Yeah.
I'm supposed to know who this guy is.
Yeah.
And I said, Mark Leonard. And I said, yeah. I said, I was talking to you around Christmas.
Yeah.
And he goes, who is this? He was being pranked. So I went, okay, right, you blew my cover. I went, I was talking to you about a TV that was obliterated by one of your workmen. And I waited. And then he laughed, and I went, "Oh, okay, good. we're on the same page then." So he laughed at that joke, and then he said, "Right, you were the guy that had the TV broken just before Christmas." I said, "Yeah, that was me." And then he goes, "I never sent you your check." And I went, "Well, funny you should say that. That's actually why I was ringing."
Yeah.
And he said, "Look, I completely forgot about it. I'll get that into the post to you this week, and I'll drop you an email to let you know when I've done it." So he did drop me an email, and that was on Monday that I got the email. Mm-hmm. I still have no check, but I feel like I've gained a new friend. But either way, I have a direct line to the guy who's actually getting the check to me, so I can be quite persistent along those lines. So I feel like I've advanced my cause.
Fair play.
Excellent. So it'll be arriving this week, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully so. Hopefully.
We're waiting with bated breath.
Can't wait to see the end of this saga. Yeah. So on your new TV, Mark.
Yeah.
What's the plans? Have you anything that you really want to see there?
Well, given that I have an exact copy of it that I already watched stuff on.
Oh, right, do you?
What I was thinking about doing was putting one on each side of the room and trying to get the same thing playing on both at the same time and then invite guests. Just to see the confusion and then pretend like I don't know there's 2 TVs. I think it's part of the same thing. And I'll go, oh, you like my video wall? And I was like,
yeah,
just carry on.
Yeah. What was the name of that movie? Was it Sliver?
Yeah,
was it?
With one of the Baldwin guys.
Oh, he did all the TVs.
Stone,
Yeah.
But I was going to I would sit in the couch and stare at the fireplace in the middle of the 2 TVs. And not look directly at either of them.
Very good. Very good.
My next party all planned out.
Invite George.
Yeah.
I should.
Yeah. In fact, just invite George.
Yeah. What did we see this week? Anything strange or exciting?
I finally finished Jessica Jones.
Oh, right.
There's a great TV show. So the ending was a little bit only telegraphed. But they telegraphed it and then made you doubt your assumption and then delivered. And it was very satisfying. Very satisfying ending, actually. And I can't wait to see what they do with season 2, to be honest. There was great completeness to the season, I felt, as well, which is important for this kind of show.
You reckon it's a shoe-in for a season 2, yeah?
Well, I hope so. I haven't checked to see if it's been greenlit yet, but
I believe it has, actually.
Yeah.
brilliant.
In fact, I believe they were so confident in the show that they released teasers about where the story was headed pretty much the week of or the week after they dropped the entire season. Would you like me to elaborate upon these teasers?
Go for it.
Why not?
So there is a scene there's a bar in Daredevil, the show, Josie's, that they used to go to all the time. And there's a short teaser just of the exterior facade of this bar, having the name Josie's taken down. And the sign that's being ready to get put up says Luke's place. So Luke Cage, it seems, is moving to a different spot in Hell's Kitchen and may indeed run into the eponymous lawyers, the avocados at law of Nelson and Murdoch. And also, there was a second teaser, which is Jessica Jones in a bar having a few drinks. You know how she is. Mm-hmm. Oh, I love drinking.
What a Scully like. Yeah.
And solving crimes. And she kind of looks really fucked off at a business card that's left like nearby, and she like just goes ugh, and she picks it up, and it's Nelson and Murdoch, attorneys at law. So there's gonna be run-ins, and probably she's gonna have more and more overlap once Daredevil season 2 drops and the Iron Fist show and the Luke Cage show.
Was that all there was to those snippets?
I believe so.
You're such a tease.
What were the name of the lawyers again?
Nelson and Murdoch. Foggy. Wait, no. Yeah, Foggy Nelson and Matt Murdoch.
So are we going to have a spin-off next year, like Better Call Nelson and Murdoch, or?
Well, they're already in Daredevil.
What? Oh, they're already, yeah. Yeah, but I mean their own show.
Just the law part.
Yeah.
None of the crime.
Yeah.
So Matt Murdoch shows up and he's bet to shit constantly. And Foggy's just like, no time. File these depositions. I'm blind. Don't try that crap with me.
And then they try and do some kind of Suits thing.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of Suits.
Now I've done it.
Yeah, they're back. Sean, I thought you'd be delighted to hear Suits is back.
I'm really excited to see whether or not their suits fit.
Yeah. And it's great. It's the same season.
Okay.
Yeah, which is... you don't see too many series that do this. It was almost like it's been off the air for 6 months. Mm-hmm. And now they've come back with the second half of the season.
Yeah, Outlander did that, didn't they?
But that was only over like the summer or something. That's
Breaking Bad did that.
Did they do it for
Mad Men did that. But that was for their final seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I don't know if it's final season or not. But it's still going strong. Yeah, still got me interested.
Yeah. Still funny?
Yeah. Still funny. You know what? There's parts of it I have to admit that I fast forward a bit on and that kind of thing, you know.
Oh, Steve.
Yeah.
It's lost a fair bit though of what made it. Like it hasn't. They're still great at what they do.
Yeah.
They still do it every week, but it's old now.
Yeah, well, the problem is that they're concentrating half the show nearly on personal relationships, which isn't why I started watching the show. Mm-hmm. And they bore me because I don't really care. and they're just, you know, everything is blown way out of proportion, right? And you know, I have no time for that. You know, there's no logic to it. Yeah. Just like, oh my God, you said this. No, oh my God, fucking, you know, it's just like, no, just calm down. That's not what he said. You know, he should go, calm down. I didn't say that. I said this. And then it'd be like, oh, all right. Can we go back to lawyering? Yeah, grand. And that, you know, that'd be fine. Yeah. But instead, they drag it out for another 10 or 15 minutes, and you're just like, Jesus. Wow. Fast forward. Have they kissed and made up yet? Which they always do. Yeah. Anyway, that's my main critique of the show. Anyway, I'm still enjoying it. What else to see? Outsiders, new series, season 1, episode 1, stars David Morse. Set in the hills of Appalachia, and they're a clan who live outside the law, and the law won't go near them because they're mad bastards, and they'll, yeah. It's not worth bringing that kind of attention to yourself, So
Not armed to the teeth and shit.
not initially, but yeah, then and there's a bit of internal conflict in that there's a boss, and the next guy in the line may be superseded by, as part of their what do you call it, their mythos. They have the chosen one kind of guy comes along and saves them from the oppression of the outside world, kind of thing, So
You're kind of like a redneck Dalai Lama, or
yeah, no. But yeah, I'd great hopes for this, but I'm afraid it's a big filler.
Oh yeah,
The Farrell clan just they didn't tick those boxes. Yeah,
okay,
yeah. It just doesn't make any sense. Maybe 80, 100 years ago.
Where did you say it was set again, Steve?
The hills of Appalachia.
Isn't Appalachia another word for llama? Oh, I'm thinking of alpaca. Sorry.
That's it. Yeah, they're kind of living off the grid and that kind of thing up in a mountaintop homestead, that kind of way. Anyway, I'd give it a skip.
yeah, okay.
Yeah. What else? What else have seen?
Not a lot. I've been watching a lot of sports, which doesn't really come under this podcast category. Sorry.
Well, let's not talk about that.
Yeah.
How about the Expanse, Sean
The
Leonard?
Expanse. So we reviewed this a while back. I was one of the few people who thought there's hope for the series, or in the series, and I left it for a little bit, as I am wont to do, and then I had a big catch up, and I am riveted. It is
Really?
so good. So here's the basic plot of the show, right? For anyone who doesn't remember, Earth and Mars are now opposing forces because a bunch of wide-eyed scientists went to Mars and colonized it. Life is super tough there. It's basically like they're the pioneers, the people who ventured out into the West to manifest their destiny in America, but with Mars. And they both shit on the people in the belt who do a lot of mining resources because Earth doesn't have any left, really. And in Mars, it's really fucking difficult. So it's basically about the interrelation between those, and a ship blows up, and it's like, fuck, this could very easily become a war between planets. Every episode is better than the first episode, first of all.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, so it's all action. Like, it actually, for me, got to be all action. Because here's what you got. You've got a detective who, for some reason, usually he just gets given cases that they want buried or not much follow-up on. But for some reason, he can't let go of trying to find this missing girl. This missing, essentially a rebel, perhaps a terrorist, who came from a pretty wealthy and famous family. So you've got that going on, and that's interesting because he's in the midst of the belt. Like, where he is, everyone hates the cops pretty much, even more than usual. And they're so close to a riot all of the fucking time. And that tension just every now and then bubbles up in really unexpected ways. People die in this show, by the way.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen in science fiction shows a lot unless they get brought back immediately later. So the other story we're following is these 5 survivors from this ship who constantly have to figure out how not to die in the void, in the expanse of space. And also, everyone is hunting them because they are getting blamed for a ship blowing up. But they need to survive because if they don't, then everyone will think they record a video saying they know who it was. And if they die, that will be the truth, and then the war will happen. So that's their insurance policy. So you get to know these characters in action. Sure, they talk, but usually their conversation is like, how do we avoid not getting killed by these people? And or how the fuck do we kill these people? Like, they do shit, and every character now is so, to me, is so specific and unique. Like, first episode, they were kind of like a melange where it's like, I guess he might be the funny guy. I guess he's the tough one.
Yeah.
But now I'm there.
Yeah.
And it just gets me. It's and the world is so cool.
I went back and watched episode 2. And I
Okay.
agree with you, the episode 1 is terrible compared to episode 2. Yeah, it's much better. The only bit that doesn't really interest me is the Blade Runner type detective dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, that aspect of the story, it hasn't got me yet, but I do like the dude stuck in the Expanse. And, and the other bit, let's say, is on Mars.
Oh, on Earth with
Earth,
the
yeah.
politician.
Yeah.
That's the bit that I usually go, oh, snore, but they've even managed to get me a little bit invested now.
Yeah.
I'll just give one quick thing, right? There's one episode, and it might even be the second one, where everything's about water, even without it being the main plot.
Yeah.
But
It is.
there's so many just like conversations about it, the imagery of it. It feels like you're watching Chinatown, but in space.
Yeah.
And I'm invested. I want these guys to succeed. Like, I want the people in the Expanse and this detective, I want them to survive, and I want them to get better lives than they fucking have.
Yeah.
In binge watch terms, what kind of time investment are we talking about?
Yeah, how many episodes are out now?
So, I believe tonight in America, episodes 9 and 10 are double billing. I believe that's the end of the season. So 10 episode commitment, 40 minutes each. But it's very quick. I watched like 4 and 3, and then I watched them one by one. So,
All right.
Okay. Oh, might have to dig that out.
You might have to become a student again.
I might.
Speaking of going back to programs we reviewed,
Yeah.
the Shannara Chronicles are still going strong.
Oh, God. Really?
Yeah.
It's not cancelled yet.
Speaking of wanting people to make better lives for themselves, I really hope that they can put those demons back into the tree.
One leaf
We
at a
made
time.
we made a step closer and several steps backwards in this latest episode. So it continues to be the at least the spiritual sequel to Game of Thrones.
Has the girl hero managed to prove that she's just as good as the boys at being a tree demon guardian type thing?
Girl boy.
Well, she has in fact, she was chosen by the tree to. Well, I don't want to spoil it because there's a lot of plot
ahead.
detail.
go ahead. I'm fine with it.
Is this a very articulate tree? Is it?
It is in
I'll
fact to
take
communicate with her through a dream quest.
There
Right.
you go.
Yeah. Okay.
So
you're
but
gonna-
anyway, it's a great show. I'm going to keep watching it.
Are you? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Jesus, Mark, your tolerance for shite is just unbelievable.
Many people would
Segue.
say that's how I've lasted in this podcast for so long.
Segue. Season 7 of The Good Wife. How about that one?
Haven't seen that yet.
Oh, who has?
Shona.
Oh, Shona has. Oh, it's a pity we're missing Shona tonight. Shona, we miss you. What is Agent Carter is back. Season 2. What did you think, Sean?
Agent Carter season 2.
Yeah.
I am very excited about. I've seen the 3 episodes that have come out. Again, I'm actually invested in a romantic angle in a show that is not necessarily romantic, and that's not usually what happens with me. Honest to God. So here's the thing: I like the actor.
Which one? Which romantic angle?
No. The new guy, the new addition to the show, the scientist.
Yeah.
I like that actor.
Yeah, me too.
I think, and I like the character as well.
Yeah.
The idea of, look, if I'm a scientist, I'm going to use science to make really good wine. That's what's going to happen. Like,
best
it's
wine
just a great
ever.
character to
Yeah,
know that you, and he's so trusting. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, but without being naive, I just really like it. And I think that the kind of the setting of LA, the backdrop of the Hollywood movies,
Yeah.
is so useful because all the shit that they say now. That's all like, see, Dad, they gotta do.
Yeah.
Come
There
on,
you go now,
doll.
see?
I'm just like,
Yeah.
I love it. I love that. That's great. Go fall in love with beautiful phrasing.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan.
Yeah, it looks great as well. And I do think that the cases, let's say, they're great as well. And the current plot, let's say.
Probably stronger than last season.
Yeah, it's certainly shaping up to be. Yeah, and I really enjoyed season 1. And it's usually not my fare, but yeah.
Well, it also has an interesting thing. I'm not sure how much it's going to tie in with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but without having to
Yeah.
push it on you, it actually seems to be doing that, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Also, Howard Stark is hilarious.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen the 3rd episode, but
I have,
it's
yeah.
so good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Like
great.
literally half the jokes are about how many whores he has in his employ.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Like,
It's really funny, actually. Yeah. Okay, so moving on. Tell us, Sean. You went along to a little film festival, I believe, this week.
I did indeed. I attended the Sundance Film Festival.
Great.
Sean dance.
Sean Dance Film Festival.
Tell us about it.
First thing, a little bit of background. Sundance Film Festival is I think 2 week long or at least 10-day long festival held in Park City and Salt Lake City in Utah in America. It is a lot of it is about premiering films for the first time, often in the hopes of finding a distribution outlet, finding a distributor, someone to buy the movie and then distribute it. So that all of that goes on at the place. It is not sunny there. The title is a misnomer. It is very cold and there's snow everywhere. Bear that in mind if you plan on being drunk or waiting in line for long periods of time, which you will be doing. So I managed to get on the wait list and get in to see 4 films, which we will discuss in order. I have to begin with Yoga Hosers, a film by Kevin Smith, which was a spin-off of Tusk, a movie he made a few years back.
Okay.
It stars Johnny Depp, Johnny Depp's daughter, Kevin Smith, and Kevin Smith's daughter. Also, It stars the blonde dude from the Shannara Chronicles in a completely pointless role. Speaking of pointless...
Where he's bound to excel.
Speaking of pointless, this is pointless.
Oh, really?
This movie, Yoga Hosers, is basically about Colleen and Colleen, the daughters previously mentioned, and it's about them working in the A to Z. It's set in Canada. A lot of the jokes are about Canada and Canadian accents. It's about them wanting to go to a party with some boys, but then also there's a bunch of Nazi bratwurst things that are climbing into people's butts and killing them.
Oh.
It's
Hey, do you want me to read?
it's not as interesting as it sounds.
Do you want me to read the IMDb blurb on it?
I mean, if I'm going to have this traumatic flashback, then yes, please, by all means.
Well, they say it's a comedy fantasy horror thriller.
Do they? Do
Yeah.
they say that?
Um,
It's not funny. It's not in any way fantastic. It's not thrilling. And then the other thing that you said, horror. It's not scary. It's horrific.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. Maybe it's horrific, yeah. Two teenage yoga enthusiasts team up with a legendary manhunter to battle with an ancient evil presence that is threatening their major party plans. Yeah.
Hang on, yoga Nazi butthole party. Something fantastic.
There was a lot that could have happened. So here's the thing, right? There's what we think is going to be the core of the film, a party that they want to go to, ends up being a thing, a plot line that happened to happen on the same day as the other fantastical, dangerous event that is actually the plot of the film. And there's no reason that it's coincidental and unlikely. They're in class in school at one point, and their history teacher gives them all the background that they are going to need for the rest of the plot of the film. They get told about what's the backdrop of everything that happens later in class. It just so happens on the day that all this shit happens.
That was kind of handy.
Yeah, there's like 8 characters who are set up and then never come back, and their plot lines and characters never have any impact.
Oh.
Yoga Hosers, terrible. 0 out of 10.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
Don't see the movie, it's a waste of time
Okay,
and money. And unfortunately, it seems like the Yoga Hosers are going to return in a film called Moose Jaws.
Okay.
So
Okay.
avoid that too, probably. The next film that we should discuss is one we've actually previewed on Is It a Bicycle? Eddie the Eagle.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we
Remember this?
Yeah,
Eddie the Eagle, starring Hugh Jackman and Taron Egerton, tells the story of Eddie, who was a young... who his whole life wanted to compete in the Olympics, wanted to be an Olympian. And it's about his journey towards the Olympics, trying to be a competitor in, I think, 92 Winter Olympics? He wants to be a ski jumper.
Yeah. Britain's first ski jumper.
Britain's first ski jumper. Well, according to the film, that's not true. Sorry. They haven't had one since like 1929, and they have no interest in having one.
Oh.
So the plot is very similar to Cool Runnings, which they reference in the movie, which is great.
Okay.
Hugh Jackman brilliantly plays a washed-out, drunk, former hotshot ski jumper, and he is fucking hilarious. They hit every note right in this film. Like, it's funny, it's a little bit saccharine, but not in a way that, it's in a way that is endearing. They know the genre that they're in really well. So they manage your expectations really well. They get you excited for stuff. You care about the dude a lot. But it's like, it's absurd and funny how like dumb and naive the guy is, and how like, no, I'm going to do it. But also it is sweet. Like, it actually is just serious enough that you're going to want him to succeed,
Is this a British or American production? Or?
That's a great question. It's definitely an English film. It feels like an English film.
Right.
But they've done enough that it could be an American sports movie as well.
Okay.
So I think that is kind of interesting. But it actually takes place mostly in like Germany and wherever else the skiing takes place that year in the Olympics. But anyway, it's cool.
Sorry, the director's English anyway, Dexter.
And the character, they're basing it all on is English as well. But I think what I'm saying is it'll appeal to audiences from both sides of the pond and elsewhere.
Yeah.
It's so much fun. I can't say enough good things about it. It's not like revolutionary in terms of its filmmaking or anything. It's just really well done.
It was also filmed in Pinewood Studios.
Wow. Yeah, I believe that. Yeah. But I don't know. If I were to mark this film as well, I would call it a definite watch. Like, everyone listening, I would recommend it to. Which is why I'm going to give it quite a high mark. But I also, again, it's just that they do it really well. It's not so spectacular. It's just really fun. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10 because everyone should watch it.
Wow.
Everyone should. They'd enjoy it.
What part does Christopher Walken play in it?
Christopher Walken plays Hugh Jackman's old coach.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool.
Yeah. There was a Walken laugh. At one point you see a book that his character wrote. Yeah. So his face is on the cover, and it looks like a book from like the 80s. Yeah. And there was just like a general, that's Christopher Walken. So that was pretty cool as well. So yeah, very good. I would say a must watch. Maybe we'll review it when it's released.
Cool, yeah, for sure.
The next film was called Wiener Dog.
Wiener Dog.
It was called Wiener Dog. It's about a wiener dog who goes around to different people and affects their lives. It was probably the most Sundance of the Sundance movies that I saw. It's definitely an indie film. It's 4 different stories, different characters, different everything. It's either the same dog or not, but it's, they leave it up. It's probably not. They leave it up to you. How
like The Littlest Hobo was he?
Oh, I have no idea. I don't know The Littlest Hobo.
Maybe tomorrow I want to settle down. Do you remember that Canadian? You must remember that Canadian. About the Alsatian? It wasn't Alsatian, was it? Going around affecting people's lives. Anyway, go on.
Because every stop I make, I make a new friend.
Thank you, Mark. There we go.
So interestingly, they have a bit in the middle where they do an intermission where the dog walks against a backdrop of different landscapes and there's different weather. And there's a song like, oh, everywhere he goes, little wiener dog tries to find out what he's gonna do. Like, it's like this big American, like, traveling around, trying to do stuff, adventures.
Yeah.
So if you want to watch a movie about a cute dog who, like, makes people happy, don't watch this movie. The ladies next to me thought it would be that kind of movie. So every time the dog was on screen, the dog is very often on screen. These 2 ladies next to me would go, baby. So they're dead now. No, I could not take it. I was distraught for a large portion. So it's 4 segments. If I was to rate it in segments, I would basically go filler, thriller, filler, thriller. I think the point is it's a mixed bag. Danny DeVito stars in one of the segments.
Yeah.
And it is so well acted. It's amazing. It's blackly comic. Darkly comic might be better. It's darkly comic. It's really funny. And it's really sad. Like, it is tragic the way everything goes down. And if I had just watched that, I would just be like, everyone watch this. This is an amazing short film, like 20 minutes or whatever it is. The first one is, there's like a kid. Mike, you would love this movie, first of all.
Okay.
Because so many people say really terrible things.
Nice.
Just really terrible. But also, there's a bunch of weird shit in it that you would never get away with in like a blockbuster or a big Hollywood thing. So, Steve, you would definitely like this movie. Mark, you should not only not watch this film, but you should probably just zone out during my review of it.
Kieran
Way ahead of you, Sean.
Kieran Culkin's in it.
Kieran Culkin is great. So it may be important to note that some of the characters in this film have been featured in previous films by this director, but played by different actors and actresses at different points in their lives.
Yeah.
So it's a shared movie universe, but nobody ever plays the same parts.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But you would know some of the characters if you'd watched those other films.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't really know what to say overall about it. I think it's interesting, but I would only give it a 6 out of 10. But it would basically be because the Danny DeVito one I loved and thought was amazing. One of the other ones I thought was very good. And then the intermission thing and the long feeling first section was just like, ugh.
Okay.
Like, I don't care.
Okay. Yeah.
But if you're interested in those kinds of things, check it out. Finally, The Intervention. The Intervention is a movie by Clea Duvall, a writer-director, and she also stars in the film. Melanie Linsky, who you'd remember from 2.5 Men and the HBO series Togetherness, is also in this show. So is Ben Schwartz, who people know as John Ralphio from Parks and Recreations, and also he stars in House of Lies. There's a bunch of people in it you'll recognize. Kobe Smulders from The Avengers and How I Met Your Mother as well. And everyone in it, even the ones I couldn't remember what I'd seen them in before, I was like, yeah, like I've seen you before and you are good at this.
Yeah.
So the synopsis, pretty much, there is a couple, a married couple, and all of their friends, to varying degrees, have decided, look, we might need to do something about this. They need to stop being with each other. They need to get a divorce. So the intervention is literally just a bunch of people going out to a house to hang out, as they've done before, for a weekend, out in the woods. A very beautiful house. And the idea is that someone's going to sit two of them down and go, look, this isn't working anymore. So you'd think that that's not enough to hang a full movie on, but it genuinely is. The character relationships are really well shown immediately. Alia Shawkat plays Ben Schwartz's character's love interest. Mm-hmm. So basically he lost his wife a few years ago. So he shows up at this intervention with this 21-year-old in booty shorts, and everyone's just like, oh, really? And he's just like, come on, just, if we could. So it's great. You get to look at a couple different relationships. There's an engaged couple, there's a lesbian couple, there is that winter-summer relationship that I just described, as well as the core, they should get divorced relationship. Here's what's interesting about it. I did, and I think a lot of people in the audience did, think about, well, should they get divorced in their own heads, and started totting things up? Yeah. You know what I mean? So that was pretty interesting. And then also that puts you in an interesting headspace for all of the other relationships, because the question's so there, right? The question is, should this happen? Should they stay together? Should they not? Yeah. So it's a great device. It's a very good romantic comedy. I really liked it. The ending, I don't know about the ending. The ending with these kinds of things, as we've discussed many times with romantic comedies, can fall into a trap of being predictable. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I asked a specific question of Clea Duvall at the Q&A afterwards about that, which maybe if we ever revisit this, I'll reveal that stuff to you, or you can hit me up on Twitter. But I really liked it. It was unexpected in places, and it was incredibly well acted throughout. So I would give that movie, I'd give that a must watch. I'd give that
Really?
hey, I'm looking for a movie to watch. What kind of movie? Rom-com. Watch The Intervention.
Okay.
I'd give it an 8 out of 10.
Wow. Okay, cool.
So that's a 0, an 8, a 6, and an 8.
Wow. So, Clay DeVolci wrote and directed. Okay, yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Right. Next up, we go to the first of our TV. Something that I suspect is familiar amongst most of our listeners.
Booty, booty, gee, gee.
What was that, Mike? That was the booty song, wasn't it?
I don't know how that's...
Yeah, it's the X-Files. Yeah. It's season 10. Yeah. So, Mike, tell us where it left off, or where did we join back?
Well, it's so long ago since it left off, I kind of forgot where it left
Oh,
off.
was it 2002, wasn't it?
Yeah. And then there was a movie in between,
Oh, yeah.
and it was all a bit fucked up. I think they basically lost at the end, if memory serves. So the aliens won, and the governments won, and Mulder and Scully basically headed off into the sunset with their tails between their legs. Mm-hmm. And in the intervening years, Scully has gone back to being a proper doctor, and Mulder, from what we can see, has gone off the grid, and he's just sitting there watching YouTube most of the time.
Yeah. But he hasn't lost it.
No, he still wants to believe. And lo and behold, one day, Director Skinner rings up Scully just before she's going into surgery, and she says, "Of course I'll take that call."
Yeah.
And he says, "I need Mulder." And she says, "Okay." And then they basically get in touch with this guy who is kind of like a younger, flashier version of the O'Reilly factor. Right-wing demagogue of American TV.
Yeah.
And he says, "I know stuff, and I want you to help me to reveal stuff."
Yeah.
And they say, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
And then they go and see stuff that shouldn't be there.
Yeah. So he's involved in a not a conspiracy, but another revelation, let's say. They've got, was it alien technology you describe it?
Yeah.
The reconstructed alien technology?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So what did you think? Let's say, first of all, in comparison to the old one.
Did you watch it religiously, Mike, when it was on the first time around?
Oh yeah, this was the Game of Thrones for me of the era. It was must-watch TV.
It was your Shannara Chronicles.
Yeah, indeed. And I mean, it spawned probably 20 years of watching or investigating conspiracy theories and all kinds of shit that I could find on the internet. It was just wonderful.
Yes, Mike, it's the X-Files' fault you're paranoid.
So yeah, I was already heavily invested in this, and there was a certain amount of trepidation because I thought, oh, please don't fuck it up. Please don't fuck it up.
Yeah.
And I was very happy with what I saw. They basically gave a 5-minute intro at the beginning of the episode 1,
Previously on X-Files.
which just catches you up
Yeah.
on the last 20 years.
Yeah.
So you don't really need to have seen the original series.
Okay, so you can dive straight in. Yeah.
Yeah, which is a nice bonus if you don't have time to watch 9 seasons.
Yeah.
And they brought the characters back. They made no attempt to make them look younger. You know, especially David Duchovny. When he first shows up, he's pretty fucking haggard looking. You know?
Well, see, that's the thing, like, because his partner has aged like a fine wine.
Oh, she has, yeah. I mean, it has to be said, I probably prefer the new Scully than the old Scully.
For sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
As they'd say around these parts, she's grown into herself.
That's it, yeah. She's
Grown into herself. Yeah.
Like a toenail.
No, she hasn't ingrown into herself. She's just grown into herself. Yeah.
Oh, okay. She's developed. Gotcha.
Yeah.
That happens to girls. Sorry. I'm going to stop now. This is one of the few occasions where I get to just poke fun at all the shit that you guys like.
Sean, I'm shocked and appalled.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this. I was straight back into it, and I was like, God, it was like they never left.
Yep.
Yeah.
And were you a religious watcher as well, Steve?
Not a religious watcher, but I'm kind of glad because now I've got, I don't know, I guess I'm going to have to go back and sort of dip into the 9 previous seasons.
Well, like, would you have watched like an episode when it was on TV?
Oh no, absolutely. I certainly would have watched it if it was on. Yeah. But I wasn't waiting in on a Tuesday night waiting for it, but I really enjoyed it, and I think I began to like it a bit more towards the end. But
the end of episode 1 or episode 2?
The end of season 9.
Oh, okay.
Because I do remember watching that. But I start to, I think it got a bit more about them than, the conspiracies.
Okay.
And obviously there was still a large part, but the show started to do a bit more, I don't know, exploration of their relationship. Let's say.
Don't relationships ruin all TV, Steve?
God damn it! Yeah. No, in this case, it nearly did. But yeah, I'll definitely go back and watch more. What did you think?
So I didn't like the X-Files when it was on TV originally at all. I avoided it.
Okay, so just shut the fuck up now. We don't need to hear your opinion.
I did enjoy the X-Files movie, and I didn't really know what to expect from this. So I don't think I really got it when it was out first. Right. Like, I wouldn't have had your paranoia, Mike, where I was going, at last, a TV show that validates my constant doubting of everything. Because I was much more into the kind of sci-fi that you got from the Star Trek universe and the Star Wars universe, that side of the fence. So, but I did enjoy this episode. The only thing about it was it almost seemed like it was paced too fast. Like, I know they were trying to set up a full series in one episode, essentially, because they needed to let people know, right, here are all your hooks. So, like, it was a pilot in season 10, episode 1 was essentially a pilot for the new X-Files. Yeah. But I thought that they covered nearly too much ground. It didn't feel like a TV show. And I'm not complaining. It's just something that I noticed. So much happened. There seemed to be so many big reveals in this first episode. I was going, well, where are you going to go? You've kind of painted yourself into a corner now. Do we just circle around this mystery for the rest of this season, or what's going to happen? What did you think about that?
Well, there have been seasons of the X-Files where they just circled around something for the whole season, and then, like, 2 episodes before the end, they say, oh, yeah, oh, by the way, this happened, yeah.
But it's also the case, isn't this season only 6 episodes?
As far as I know, yeah. So, as far as I know, yeah, so that's kind of time pressure, isn't it? To get shit done.
Yeah.
Well, that makes a lot more sense then.
Yeah, I wonder, is this just like a test in the water?
Yeah.
See what the viability of another 9 seasons is.
Yeah. Just a tip.
Yeah.
I would slightly disagree with Mark on some of the pacing. I agree that, lots of it was snappy, bum, 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 bum.
Yeah.
But there were some kind of dream/flashback sequences, which I thought were kind of weak. And I don't think they particularly added anything to the episodes.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
Maybe that's just me, but...
No, I think you're right. Yeah.
They seemed a bit kind of, get on with it,
Yeah.
Like there's revelations about the child they could have had or whatever.
That has no involvement in the current story yet.
Exactly, but it's trying to, build some kind of emotional reaction into their characters, and they don't need it.
There are people that suffer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was disappointed in that. But, I mean, other than that, I really enjoyed the hell out of this.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
I like the way that they just sucked me right back in after all these years. I thought I was free. I thought it was over.
I used to know a girl like that, actually. Well, I think I'm going to watch more of this as well. I might be a very, very late convert to the X-Files. But it seems to be, at least now, have aged in keeping with the way my sci-fi appreciation has.
Yeah.
So, well, that's why I'm at a point of asking you guys if you were fans to see just what the context was. So it seems like this might have hit a mark with people who were and weren't fans.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what? I'm really looking forward to seeing more. And I think I'll go back and start, like I say, dipping into the previous 9 seasons, see where I was and what I didn't see, and so on. Because they used to be quite standalone, the episodes, and then they started making it like a serial.
Yeah, the overall arc didn't really kick in till sort of season 3 or 4.
Oh, is it? Really, yeah?
Yeah, the first few seasons, it was kind of standalone. This is weird. Let's go investigate it.
Yeah, you see, maybe that's where, you know, I maybe decided that I was going to dip in and out rather than stay in and wait for it, because I thought some of them were a little bit bullshitty, you know.
Yeah.
You know,
But that was probably in keeping with the time, though, Mike. Like, this is a long time ago.
This is true.
And it was a while before, and Sean can correct us on the terms, but before they actually had a series arc.
Yeah.
A lot of shows didn't, like back then, the kind of series arc they had was the likes of the way Colonel Decker was always trying to get the A-team.
Yeah.
So you'd see him every 4th episode or so, and he'd show up and shoot guns.
Yeah.
In one episode of the season, he'd have to help the A-team, strangely, in a ridiculous set of circumstances.
It'd be like 5 or 10 seconds, just too late.
And Colonel Deering would never ever ride Buck Rogers, no matter what.
But I think as well, it's about the way people consume television and media, right? It's changing over time.
Yeah.
Like, obviously we're seeing it most often now with binge watching and Netflix, etc. But people, I think that now there's faith in the community of people who make television that the audience will watch it and remember it and stick with the show.
Yeah.
As opposed to, we just need to make it so that anyone who happens to be on the channel goes, oh, this might be interesting. And then if they like that enough, then we just repeat that. Yeah. As opposed to now, when we kind of expect in TV, what we expect is for people to not only grow and develop and change, but for whatever story is being told to be fully told, at least every season.
God, when you think about the potential for Chips and the Fall Guy, the Magnum PI,
MASH,
they'll remake them all. Don't worry, they're remaking all of them.
It's only a matter of time.
Yeah. Actually, movie making question for Sean here. I noticed that in some of the flashback sequences, they had old mobile phones. I'm wondering, is there a mobile phone or a tech museum? If you're doing a flashback in a movie to 1989 or 1997, is there somewhere you can go and say, what was the phones I had those times? Make me one.
The prop department is insane on anything. It's so weird. I haven't worked on like huge stuff, but even just someone who wants to do that has this insane ability to be able to obtain, create, and protect the things that they need. And so I played a violinist on a independent film that was made here in Vegas, right? So it was literally like, there was a guy who, when I would finish filming, would come over and just be like, give that to me.
Right.
Give that to me.
My fucking
Because it's like, if you ruin that, guess what happens with continuity? Because there are no identical violins.
Yeah.
There are similar violins. There are many like it, but this one is mine. So what I would say happened was they got an actual one from then, which could have been something as easy as eBay, or the guys who do that shit for a living have a guy for that, or have a warehouse for that.
Yeah.
Also, there are shared prop departments. I feel there are shared prop departments for studios. That's a guess.
Yeah.
But I mean, it would make the most sense if you're filming out of the same place. Like, for example, the Brooklyn Nine-Nine location where they shoot is right next to the CSI Cyber location where they shoot. Okay. And they have a fake New York City street, and they both film on it. It's not like they only do that for one show.
It's like the Gremlins and Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Same set. What was I thought you were going to mention, like, look, if they can get props for Brooklyn, you know. And I was just like, no, they didn't have to get any. They just went to Wexford.
Nothing's changed.
Apologies to any Wexford listeners, including my relations and family. So X-Files, thriller.
Oh, thriller for me.
I think it's thriller all around.
Yeah. Bought in one more time.
Yeah.
Yep. Going to give it a go this time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Okay. Let's start with the first of our movies, which is The Big Short. Sean, do you want to tell us about this?
Sure. The Big Short, I believe current contender, current betting favorite for Best Picture winner at the Oscars, as we discussed last week, concerns the about 5 or 6 people who saw the crash coming and tried to make money off it by shorting out the stocks of banks, by shorting out the banks themselves that they presumed were going to crumble and fall apart. So it kind of chronicles the real life stories of those guys. And every now and then will explain to you concepts about the banking crisis itself.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a dramedy.
Yeah, I would call it an informative dramedy.
Yeah,
not necessarily only meant to inform. It's still a fun movie.
This is just interesting. It's based on a book by almost the same name, by Michael Lewis, who also did Moneyball. Yeah.
The book
also had Brad Pitt.
Yeah, so Christian Bale, Ryan Reynolds, Steve Carell, Marissa Tomei, Brad Pitt, and then cameos from a few people, Margot Robbie and Selena Gomez, doing the whole fourth wall thing. Actually, Ryan Reynolds does that. Actually, I'll just start with that. The fourth wall thing, I really liked it. Now, I know we've seen it in lots of stuff before, and House Cards and so on, but I think it really worked in this because of the terminology. Not everyone would be familiar with it, and they used the fourth wall to explain what they're talking about. So people don't get lost. And it wasn't in a condescending, "Oh, I see what you did there now," that kind of thing. It was, like you say, informative. But I did laugh a lot when they they just said, "And here's Margot Robbie in a bubble bath to explain what the subprime mortgages are." And that's exactly what you got, was Margot Robbie sipping champagne in a bubble bath, and she explains subprime mortgages, and she explains that they are shit. Yeah, I thought that was brilliant. And there's another one on, what was the synthetic tranches? Was the synthetic collateralized debt obligation?
Yeah, synthetic CDOs.
CDOs. Yeah. Was that Selena Gomez?
Yeah, that was.
Yeah. So I thought this was brilliant. I really enjoyed it. And I love Christian Bale's character. He's not exactly the star of the show because there's like 4.
It's ensemble.
Yeah. But he's the first character that we're introduced to, and we stick with him for a little bit until
for the longest.
Well, probably, yeah. Well, Steve,
because he knew. No, I mean because he knew first.
Yes. So he figured out that mortgages have been, let's say, overpriced, and they've based stocks on this, and that he figured out that actually these mortgages are worth shite, really, and the banks are wrong, and eventually people are going to stop paying their mortgages, and some already have, and then it's all going to come tumbling down. And so that's why he goes betting against it. But he's like he says, he's not a social person, a little bit socially inept, but he's good with figures. Yeah.
Great performance.
Brilliant.
Great by Christian Bale, killing it. Like there's so many times when he just doesn't understand human behavior.
Yeah.
Like where someone like will be saying a thing to him and he's like, "No, but I'm right though."
Yeah.
They're like, "No, but you don't understand. Like people are freaking out. You're spending their money. You're investing their money, and they're freaking out." And he goes, "Yeah, but in the contract it says that I can do that. So why are we talking about this?
Yeah.
Like I'm right."
Yeah.
Really good.
Yeah. What do you think, Mike?
Didn't like it.
Didn't like it. Here we go.
And usually this is right up my street. But from the very get-go, it got my back up because they said, like, nobody saw this coming. But thanks to the X-Files and my conspiracy love and stuff, like, if you were reading sites like Peak Oil, Kunstler.com, Frugal Squirrel, The Property Pin, people were talking about this in 2004, 2005. It's not like these guys figured it out.
But they did. The only difference is they didn't put their money where their mouth was.
The only difference is they didn't have the money to put where the mouth was. I mean, you talk about these guys, they needed a buy-in of $1.5 billion to play the game. So, I mean, it's not really fair to say, "Oh, you knew, but you didn't do anything about it." there was no way to bet on it,
Right.
Also, I didn't like the structure of it. They have three story arcs going on, but they're not really related. And I found the swapping back and forth kind of awkward. I just kind of get into one thing and then they flip to another, and it's kind of
Okay.
Yeah, that didn't work for me. And the fourth wall thing really started to annoy me.
Really?
Yeah. Because I think it dumbed it down a bit unnecessarily.
Maybe,
Because as I was watching it, I was comparing it to Margin Call.
Yeah.
Which deals with fairly similar kind of material.
Yeah.
But they don't need to do silly stuff like Selena Gomez playing blackjack.
Right.
They get the ideas across, and drag you into the story without needing to do that.
I can see that. I can see how you feel that disjointed all right. And I do remember it sort of interrupted the flow.
Yeah, it just kind of comes out there.
yeah, but it was unexpected, of course, the first time. But I kind of liked it. I can see why you didn't like it.
Yeah,
but,
I did really like Steve Carell.
Yeah.
I thought he was wonderful in the part.
With his fantastic wig.
Yeah, his fantastic wig. I think he really captured the idea of a person who's it's more than about the money. It's almost a crusade for him.
Yeah.
Christian Bale annoyed the tits off me. I thought it was too much. It was almost a Rain Man kind of a thing going on, and it was just, don't believe it.
You don't believe his portrayal of that person who existed?
No, I think he took the person, the core of the person, and then exaggerated the hell out of it to make a interesting movie.
And how well do you know the guy that he was?
We're members of the same country club, and we often do a few rounds together on the golf course, and yeah, so. I can say from first-hand experience it's bullshit.
Mark.
Oh, fuck off. I could retort, but I genuinely want to talk about the movie. Ass clown.
So, Sean, tell us more.
Oh, tell you more about the movie. Great. Okay, cool.
Let's go. Unleash the beast. Come on.
I liked
fired up now.
The switching back and forth between the things, because sticking with any one of those by itself, I think you would have had to just drum up all this personal stuff that wasn't ongoing at the time, either by creation or by just like messing up the timeline in certain ways.
Yeah.
So I'm glad they showed us multiple stories. I wasn't bothered that they weren't necessarily that interconnected, because when you think about it, it's all connected, because this big fucking thing is coming down the pipeline, and they're the only ones who see it, and they don't want to tell everyone about it. You know what I mean? Like, if they did that, like, what would happen? So I don't know. I really liked the moral quandaries that they faced, because the story is in that way trapped by reality. It's not like they could at the end, one of the characters could make a very altruistic decision. You know what I mean? It's just, no, they did what happened. So we get to see them play this out, and that makes it, with not being funny, like, it is realistic. I liked the humor in it. I liked that Brad Pitt was such a weirdo. And I thought that the acting it wasn't that subtle. But because of the way these guys are supposed to be, I thought that was more true to life. They're supposed to be bombastic. I'm going to convince you to give me all of your fucking money. The way I'm going to do that is I am very attractive and I'm much fucking smarter than you. It's like their whole thing is they're going to insult you until you like them, and it works. Like, between this and Billions, you can see these things happen.
Yeah.
You can actually see the way people take control of conversations. I loved Ryan Gosling. Ryan Gosling was amazing. I was a big fan of him occasionally commenting to the camera on the events that were transpiring.
Yeah.
Like, there's a great moment that took place in Vegas, actually, where Steve Carell's character is told, look, just don't cause a fuss. And then he causes a fuss.
Yeah.
And Ryan Gosling looks at the camera and goes, He actually said that.
Yeah.
He actually put his hand in the air and said that.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, yeah, I agree with Ryan Gosling.
Yeah.
He's really cool. I like that we're friends now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. I really liked it. I don't know what else there is to comment for me because like I didn't notice music is a huge factor. I thought it was edited well.
Yeah.
I guess maybe you guys might disagree, but I thought it was edited together quite well. It hit me at the end. Like I actually cared when numbers changed on a whiteboard. Like that got me.
I got mad.
Really?
Yeah, I got mad. Yeah, yeah.
Why?
Well, because there's something not too dissimilar happened here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just makes me mad. Just makes me really mad. But
That's interesting.
What? Because the banks won.
Well, that and because they were taking the guys who are the mortgage brokers.
Yeah.
Like because of those people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because the banks are responsible for those people. No verification, no checkups. Can these people pay it? They're handing out. Here they're handing out 120% mortgages at one stage.
Yeah.
Now people need a 20% deposit, and if they're lucky, I know several people who've applied for mortgages recently, and they've been offered, they'd hardly get an apartment now.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And it's not like they're not earning. It's not like they don't have a deposit together or have equity in other places. Like serious equity.
Yeah.
It's just that they're like, nope, sorry.
It's
It's
supposed to make you mad though.
I mean, in
I
Ireland
think
now,
it's supposed to.
the majority of house purchases are either for cash or vulture funds.
Yeah.
There's very few people actually
Yeah.
getting mortgages and buying homes now.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. I mean, you can't even, like even this spot in particular, I mean, it's very, very difficult to find rental accommodation.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a matter about having the cash or not, or how much you'll pay. There's just none, And there's no one building because the building trade is gone and most of them emigrated. Anyway, that's why it makes me mad. I could go on and rant, but anyway.
But
Yeah, you're sounding like a fucking communist, Steve.
but the way
Goddamn
that they lambast the idea that there will be any justice coming out of this,
Yeah.
I think is a very effective tool because it is supposed to make you do that. Like it ends not on a sobering note. I still enjoyed the film, but it definitely ends on a sobering note, as in moving forward. You know what I mean?
But I did like the question that they put to the guys who figured this out before it happened. That are you guys as hypocritical as the banks are? Because your intention is to make money off the situation, which is what the banks are trying to do. Yeah, I just thought it was a good hypothesis.
And Christian Bale's character, right now, he only does very little trading, but any trading he does do is based around the availability of water.
Water, yeah, yeah.
Like it's just like, but by the way, you know how all this shit happened without you knowing this is going on. Just
Yeah, well,
be on the lookout.
well, that's a big deal at the moment, isn't it, in California?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, he's got on the right track. So,
But it's fun. But it's a fun movie.
it's a great movie.
Good double bill
Great
with
movie.
Steve Jobs, in my opinion.
It's a great movie. Yeah, actually, yeah, would be a good double bill. Yeah, so let's mark this. Let's start with Mike.
I liked all the acting. I didn't like the way it was done, and I didn't like the structure of the movie. But that's just because I'm a grumpy old shite. So I'd say it's a decent movie. I don't think it deserves consideration for Oscars or anything.
Really?
No, not even close. I'll give it a 6.
A 6.
Yeah.
I have to agree with you on the Oscars. I think of those that have been nominated, I think there are better movies in there.
It shouldn't win. I'm
No.
fine with it being nominated.
No, I don't think it should. I think The Revenant is actually favourite.
Oh, it's far
here.
stronger than this.
I think it's favourite here anyway at the moment. Yeah, but anyway, we've yet to talk about Spotlight. That's also nominated, isn't it? Yes, it is, yeah. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I think The Big Short, I really enjoyed it. It's a great movie. I'm going to give it an 8. Okay. Yeah, really enjoyed it. Yeah. John?
I am fine with it being nominated for an Oscar. I don't think it should win Best Picture. As I said, I've seen better movies, but
it's a great movie.
It's very well constructed.
Yeah.
Like, it's definitely worth watching. I would give it I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. I think it's very strong. I think it's very good. It doesn't make the 8 for me just because other movies have impacted me more about similar material. And I think in terms of the performances, they were strong, but not as strong as a lot of, like, an 8 movie.
Okay. Margin Call, if I was to put it up against it, I think Margin Call is a better movie.
Oh, hands down.
But that's like
I have yet to see it. It's in my Netflix queue.
That's like a 9.5 if we did halves, you know.
Ooh.
Yeah. That's a great movie.
Yeah. Like if you're going 6, 7, 8, 9 on an exponential scale, you know,
Yeah.
Margin Call is that much better than this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I preferred Steve Jobs, and I kind of find them to be similar movies. One is just more personal, and that's probably why I liked it, and it's probably better written.
Okay, yeah.
Actually, just one little geeky thing before we sign off on this. I don't know if you noticed Christian Bale at one point when he's sitting in his office, he's reading the Song of Shannara.
I think I did notice that, you know.
The novel, The Song of Shannara.
Oh, was he?
Yeah. I just thought Mark would like that.
Yeah. Shannara Chronicles. Yeah, I did notice that, yeah.
I didn't know what you said there, sorry. I know what you're saying to me.
Highfalutin books and stuff.
Oh, Jesus. So, okay, next up we've got the second of our movies, which is Spotlight.
So Spotlight is the true story of how the Boston Globe uncovered the massive scandal of child molestation and cover-up within the local Catholic archdiocese, shaking the entire Catholic Church to its core.
Nice.
Or so IMDb tells me.
Yeah, so this is Tom McCarthy's drama. Set in 2001, yeah. So, Mark, tell us.
So this is about the child, the pedophilia ring, also called the Catholic Church. And I think a lot of my comments are going to be quite regional. So the scandal, the cover-up and all of this stuff has been big news in Ireland for a long time. And so much so that I think this movie doesn't really tell you anything you might not already know. At least that's the way it came across to me anyway. There's some good performances in it. Mark Ruffalo is my favourite actor. And I enjoyed his performance particularly. I thought he was a completely different person to some of his other roles, which is always good to see an actor that can transform.
Yeah.
But it seemed completely pointless to me. It really did. They started coming out with revelations, and you cannot spoil this movie for reasons I've already stated. They started coming out saying they moved priests around rather than do something about it. And you go, yeah, I knew that. Yeah. Then they'd tell you something else about what happened. I go, yeah, pretty much everyone knows that, all right? And this is me talking, who lives in a bubble free from current affairs. So if I knew everything that happened in this film, everybody else did.
Yeah.
So then what you're left with then is, right, okay, so there needs to be a dramatic telling of the story because the events themselves aren't pivotal because we know about them.
Yep.
But there needs to be tension and all the rest of it. And because this is about real events and the story has come out, it takes away from a lot of the tension I thought that was there. There's a couple of good scenes with Mark Ruffalo running around the place that were decent, that interested me a little bit. There's a couple of pieces of dialogue that were high tension where people were being, aghast at what was going on. But again, I think, speaking just for myself, I think I'm a bit numb to all of that now. It's the most ridiculous debacle that's ever been allowed to carry on and probably still does. But we've heard so much about it. It's hard to be shocked again, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It makes things no less shocking, but I think that takes from the impact of the film.
Okay. Yeah, so we've got a clatter of stars in this with Michael Keaton, Amy... Is it Rachel McAdams?
Rachel McAdams.
Liv Shriver.
Stanley Tucci.
Stanley Tucci and, as you said already, Mark Ruffalo. I agree with you on the revelation side of this movie. It's not news, but I think this movie is more about the investigative journalism. I think that's what I got from it anyway. I thought that this is what it takes to make a revelation like this. These guys,
the struggle. It was about the struggle of finding information.
These guys have got, not like they have to publish it next week. This is kind of at the stage where the internet was just sort of like a poster for what you're going to get in the print. So they still had, like he was saying at one stage where they'd have like a year to investigate one story. So what I loved about this, and I thought it was great, was that they showed all the pavement pounding the journalists did, all the cold calling, all the door knocking, all the characters, the nice people, the abuse, the just shockingly sort of unexpected revelations that that fell into their laps, and that kind of made the movie for me.
But do you not think we've seen that in other places before? Even the newsroom.
We may have seen it, but I don't think we've seen it like this. I think this is a much stronger depiction than we've seen before. I got a much stronger sense of, how much work and toil and hours, and these people didn't have families. Now, we've seen that before with cop shows and so on, but you really got the feeling like these guys this is what they do. They eat, sleep, and do this. Like Mark Ruffalo's apartment, for example.
Yeah, but I thought that this kind of struggle to crack something was handled far better in The Wire.
I see what you mean, but it's
The Wire had a lot more episodes.
I was going to say it's a different format. It's a different stage.
It is absolutely. Yeah. But I was much more pulled into each episode of The Wire than I was. But look, I'm comparing apples with oranges, Steve. I don't mean to take from your point. It's fair, .
Yeah, and I'll even go as far as to say that I think this is a stronger movie than The Big Short. This had more of an impact on me personally. I thought about this a lot more than I did on The Big Short. The Big Short I got mad with, and this you can't help but get mad. But you know the stories, and it's just fascinating how they explore all, like you see it in most detective. It's a detective show as well. It's how they go and explore all angles, all threads, every single link, and then its luck is nearly on your side in these things, but you create your own luck, and it really stands true in this. Like the psychologist guy who used to be a priest and is now married to a nun or an ex-nun, and so on, and the revelations that he had. But no, I thought that was a really important, sort of almost keystone to their case, and I thought it was just great the way it came around. And the lawyer who's there, who initially, I thought Mark Ruffalo, his interaction with him was great. In at first, your man was very believably mistrusting, and he still was for quite a while until Mark was able to convince him that, look, this is what I do, and I'm really good at it, and I'm not just good at it, I'm brilliant at it. Actually, Mark got the real big scene in it, didn't he? He said, we're doing this, and there's still people out there, and the kids are still... And he's the one who loses the plot because they haven't published yesterday, that kind of thing. It's great. It's great. I really enjoyed this. I'd recommend this to anyone. There are some tough scenes, but like Marcus said, it's not stuff that we haven't heard or have about before, and it's just horrible stuff to some of the descriptions, but they don't go on about it, and they don't go into massive detail on it, but they do make the point that they did have to ask the people. We just don't want to hear that just the word you were touched or you're molested or that kind of descriptive. We need to really make it hit home. We need slightly more description. And then it turned out that just with the amount of people that were involved in this, they almost outweighed the pro-church people.
Right.
which is incredible.
Yeah.
We know all this, but it's just amazing the way the revelation came along, and they're just flabbergasted. But anyway,
I do have a question.
yeah.
Obviously, very similar stories here in Ireland. I was wondering how they portrayed the deference towards the church. Did it come across as the same sort of bullshit that happened here, or
How do you mean?
Exactly the same. They talked a number of times about how privileged they were.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's like Boston.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a piece of Ireland.
right?
Yeah, for sure. It's like everything. The church ruled.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Whether you knew it or not, they ruled.
Yeah,
Fucking public records going missing from the courthouse.
Okay,
Shit like that. Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting. At the very end, they list, states where they went and did the same and all the revelation. And then they listed countries, but in the countries they listed like places, right? And they listed, I think I counted 6 places in Ireland, but one of them is a tiny, tiny, tiny little village.
Okay.
Down in Wexford is where my dad grew up. And we were only talking about it a few weeks ago. And that particular guy, and he was as shocked as, say, Michael Keating has a similar revelation during it.
The reason I ask is, like, Ireland has its way of doing things. Boston has a big Irish population, but there's lots of, like, other Catholics, like Italians and whatnot. So I was wondering if that had changed the way that they dealt with it.
Not really in Boston. Not by the overwhelming majority.
Well, once Whitey Bulger had fixed up the mafia, I suppose.
Like, there's a guy, it's a very good quote, actually, that there's the lawyer in it, he says he's Armenian. The new editor that comes down, played by Liv Schreiber, he's Jewish. All right, and he said, they'd sort of looked at this case in the Boston Globe a long time previous, and they'd been sent details on cases by lawyers and so on who are now staying stone kind of thing. But they said, I sent you 20 names fucking years ago. Where are they gone? And they'd obviously been buried, right? But so the quote was, it takes like a foreigner, someone outside of this to make changes. Okay. Like because people who are here, they're not going to make the changes. I just thought it rang so true, because they've grown up in that culture and so on,
So a bunch of stuff I want to respond to in this review, which I think is really interesting as well. We're great. So we are, I think, speaking as a lapsed Catholic from Ireland, I think that there's a lot of stuff in this that would be very familiar to us as a group that wouldn't necessarily be familiar to fucking the audiences on the east and or west coast of America. And it's definitely nowhere near as familiar if they are familiar with it. So, and also, even just hearing these stories, facts arranged, it still shocks me. Yeah. Like, I definitely didn't feel at any point that I go, oh, but sure, we know all that, So, I don't know, that was still definitely getting to me. You were talking about how Rachel McAdams is in a cafe and she talks about how you can't just say molested. Yeah. Like, we need the story. And guess what? One of the most interesting things to me in this movie is how manipulative the reporters are. We were talking about The Big Short and how The Big Short had a bunch of guys who wanted to make money being outraged about the way people were making money. Yeah. Well, guess what? Newspapers are in the business of selling newspapers, not necessarily in the business of informing people about shit they need to know about.
This is true.
And I loved that grayness because, you need to tell this story, but you're now going to victims. You're going to lawyers who work with victims. You're going to everyone, and you're trying to find a way to use their story. You might be doing it for good reason. You might have a good end goal. But I really liked the way Mark Ruffalo, for example, would try and calm a guy down. He calmed a guy down, a victim, in an interview by remarking about a place in Boston that they'd both been, trying to settle him. Yeah. Now, again, this is not necessarily an immoral thing to do, but it was just really interesting. That's why I was interested in this in ways I haven't been interested in other, like finding out the story, how do we break the story, how do we get the information, like The Wire.
But it's interesting that these people are so committed to the journalism and revealing the story. You know, when they get it, they go, like at the start, they say they're fishing for a new story, and they're kind of looking at them, they're going, I don't know about this one, that one. But when they really get their teeth into it, their only goal in life, I don't think their goal in life is to sell papers. I think they work for people who want to sell papers. And they're given the means to go and investigate these stories, and that's where they shine as journalists. You get what I mean? I don't think they have it like they're not manipulating for the sake of selling papers, but more for the story.
Sure, but I like that they have that kind of hard edge.
Yeah.
That they will manage people. They will manage people and not just simply go, tell me your story, we want your story to be heard. They will go, look, it needs to be told this way.
Right.
Which is shaping a narrative. And like this is a conversation that writers have. You know, you have to be careful about your responsibilities as an author telling a story. And it's doubly so for journalists who have to take ethics classes.
Yeah.
Ethics in journalism. They have to take these classes, you know. So I found that very interesting. And also the tension of not wanting to find out about stuff, about not wanting to know stuff. And even just the fact that when they were asked by a victim if they were Catholics, they were talking about being lapsed Catholics. In that room with those four main people on the Spotlight team, nobody went, I'm an atheist.
Yeah.
Nobody went, no, I don't believe in God. God's not real. Like it was, and that is maybe a thing that is subconscious from living in Boston, and being surrounded by that, you know, that idea, or maybe it is conscious. And I just love that.
I would have said as well, Sean, probably the saying you're an atheist probably wasn't as popular back then.
Maybe, yeah. But even just all of those little things made it very interesting to me, beyond just, this is a true story that you kind of already know about. So I just loved the performances and the way it was written and the way the story was told.
Me too.
And, so I did try and preface my comments by saying I was given a very regional opinion.
Yeah.
Because you're 100% right. My view certainly wouldn't carry to places where this scandal wasn't popularised, for want of a better word, over and over again.
Yeah. It's a powerful movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that the themes for our reviews ran throughout tonight, you know?
Yeah.
Like we had The Big Short and Real Life Money Story. We've got this and a real life, you know, pedophilia journalism story. And we've got the X-Files, and we've got a real life alien investigation, you know?
Thank you, Sean.
Just trying to lighten it up.
I appreciate that, Sean. I really do appreciate it.
I think the running theme too is the people in the Spotlight movie, a lot of them wanted to believe. we're just struggling because priests, so many priests were assholes.
Okay, do we want to mark this?
Yeah, I'll start.
Mm-hmm.
5 for me, Steve. Just an average movie.
All right. I'm going to give this a 9.
Ooh.
Yeah.
A 9?
A 9.
High praise indeed.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I really love this movie. Yeah.
It certainly caught you when your estrogen was flowing.
No, I really loved it. The dialogue is just fantastic in it. There was never a moment in this movie I looked at my watch. There was never a moment I just thought, oh, Jesus, really? You know?
Yeah.
Well, I did think, oh, Jesus, really, but for the right reason or the wrong reasons, whichever you wanted to look at it. But it wasn't for the movie's fault, let's say, maybe the content. But, yeah, I just thought this was great. I just thought it was a great movie.
Steve.
We'll be seeing this on the bikies.
Steve, let me tell you.
Yeah.
I'm going to watch this movie again before I even give my number. That's how important I think it is.
It is. It's a great movie.
Wow.
It's a great movie.
Have we ever had a refusal? A defense?
Oh, I'll get back to you. Oh, don't worry.
I think it's a worthwhile refusal, Mike. We should give him time to gestate. His full opinion needs to gestate.
Okay, next up we'll have some previews in Coming to a Bicycle near you. So the first one I looked at is How to Be Single. Mark.
Rebel Wilson gets drunk and says sex things. Only this time she's trying to educate her very naive friend on how you can have a lot of fun being single. There's a lot of funny stuff in this trailer. It's potentially one of those trailers that has all the funny stuff.
Yeah.
But I would still be willing to give this movie a go on the strength of the jokes that were in that.
Yeah.
There's even a Lord of the Rings reference.
Yeah, there is. There is, and I laughed. at that one. Yeah. Yeah, it looks like fun. Looks like fun.
It really does.
I don't know. It looks awful like they're all in that trailer.
Right. Yeah.
No,
Yes.
hold on now.
Okay.
Let me just retort
on.
to that one there, Mike. We have good-natured ribbing from time to time. You're
We
completely
had such
fucking wrong,
fun.
you stupid idiot. No, in this trailer, we see sometimes we get flashes of it seems to be cameos of the various like men that will be involved with the flirtation and yada yada yada. I think even those, one, because I like the actors, and two, because I can see how these jokes like may be used or brought forward. Like she's like having a moment where she's met a guy and she starts to do like we just have the feeling that you get when you're just like, oh, maybe this is gonna be my special song, and she just, stop what you're fucking doing. Stop it. And I can just imagine her being terrible at a lot of the things that come with casual dating. And I think that given how funny those other jokes were, there's plenty more jokes to be told.
I'm just going to say, I'm going to make my prediction now. Despite this movie being full of women, it's going to fail the Bechdel test.
Oh, yeah, likely. Well, actually, no. I think in the trailer we saw that it won't.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, there was a certain
because
Lord
they
of the
talk
Rings
about
reference
being
that we talked about
hungover
earlier.
and how not to be hungover.
Yeah.
Why were they hungover? Because they were out
Because
with
they were
men.
drinking.
With men.
I'm sorry, you can't follow it back to
Sorry,
what
no.
they were born and a man was involved. So, I mean, really, you could track that back to being his idea.
I'm going to just wriggle my way out of that.
No, you got to give him that
No,
one.
you're not.
You're not.
Fuck you, Sean.
I want to see this anyway.
Fucking
I want
hate
to see
you.
this.
Yeah.
You're a
Definitely.
fucking wanker. Never liked you anyway.
Shut up.
Never change, Mike. Never change. Hashtag communication. Hashtag Mike's the worst.
Next one is Alice Through the Looking Glass. This is one Mark has been dying to see, I'm sure.
Oh, this is weird as fuck.
It's a bit of a Willy Wonka, Johnny Depp-esque.
Yeah, I don't want to go near this movie, to be honest.
Wasn't this
Burton,
done
right?
already?
Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, it was, yeah.
it's the sequel.
Yeah.
Through the Looking Glass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you see the first one?
I avoided it because it looked shit.
Okay.
And this
It was
one also
kinda
looks
shit.
shit.
This one looks kind of shit as well, doesn't it?
Yeah. Like, I agreed.
Yeah,
It's like a shit sequel to a shit movie.
Yeah.
Sacha Baron Cohen is in it. That's mildly interesting.
That's my highlight of the trailer, I have to admit. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. Did you?
It doesn't look like it's worth a watch, though.
No. It looks expensive.
It looks really expensive.
It looks like Schadenfreude is going to be the emotion I'm feeling when this movie's released.
Oh, yeah, that'll be a big chance to pick
Schadenfreude.
up.
What's Schadenfreude?
The German word for enjoying someone else's misfortune.
Schadenfreude.
It's the thing.
Oh, also, for anyone who's interested in watching this film, don't watch it. Instead, watch The Little Prince, an animated film starring Jeff Bridges and some good voice actors. It also adapts a magical children's book, but it's a good film. I watched it in an airport and felt like I was in a cinema.
Ah,
Nice.
nice recommendation. Okay. The last one we looked at is much more the boys' fare here. Pandemic.
Oh man, I can't wait for this.
I knew it.
Yeah, it looks fucking brilliant.
It
So
really
you
actually
take
does.
a post-apocalypse with zombies, the best kind of apocalypse, and then you mix it with video games?
First person shooter. Yes.
Not just zombies, zombies with tools.
Oh yeah.
Did you notice that?
Yeah.
Zombies
Did
with
actually,
weapons.
yeah.
Crowbars and shit. Oh man.
They're not classical zombies. They're definitely speeders anyway,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which
Runners.
wouldn't be my preference if it's going to be a zombie thing. I do tend to prefer the slow inexorability of the Walking Dead zombies. But speeders and like from 28 Days Later, they were a lot of fun.
No, when I see trailers and movies like this, I just think to myself, I'm gonna have to start doing more chin-ups.
That's a fact.
It's a real boo scare him. Boo! There he is, out from behind the door thing. It's like actually the end of the trailer. I'm going to spoil the end of the trailer, but they go, "Where's he gone? Do you see where he went?" And I just went, In my head, I just went, there he is. And
He's
you were just
behind
going,
So this trailer is for Pandemic.
yeah.
I don't know if we mentioned the name of the film,
Pandemic. Yeah.
but it's a weird concept.
Yeah.
It's like we need you to go out and try and find survivors, and like everyone that's read World War Z knows that that's not what you do.
Yeah.
You know, if there's pockets of survivors out there, zombies attack those, and you can conserve your resources while you let them die.
Yeah, survivors need to be fed.
I'd say they just hadn't read that book.
Most likely, yeah. But I wanted to, because when I saw, I can't remember the actor's name who was kind of like the instructor.
Rachel
Mackay
Nichols.
Pfeiffer?
Sorry?
Was it Mackay Pfeiffer? Who was also in Dawn of the Dead.
He's
The remake.
an older gentleman.
Oh, I don't know that guy.
Oh, Paul Guilfoyle.
Right.
Yeah.
When I saw him, I went, oh, maybe they're short on genes and they need to expand the breeding stock of their population to fix the earth. Because then it would make sense because, you know, the perpetuation of the race has to be paramount. But otherwise, you know, if there's people out there, you just let them die. And you use the money you saved by not saving them to make your walls higher and stronger.
What I like about the trailer is that even though it is all action all the time, they give a little preface. Like in the training you're talking about, think of this as a game. It's a very interesting concept. Dehumanize the enemy, but do it so that you can save humanity, right? So it's literally just like, hey, here's what you need to do. Apply video game culture. Go full GTA on their asses. Like, just go for it. And I appreciate that there may be some moral quandary or even lack thereof, which would still be an interesting message to send, right? I have a friend. His name is Paul Rogers. At one point, Paul Rogers said to me, does anyone think a zombie apocalypse is just a perfectly good excuse to go on a murderous killing spree? And at the time, we were discussing where we would eat dinner.
Oh, God.
So, I mean, in my head, the point is, I think that even if they never talked about it, the idea of, no, just kill stuff as effectively as possible and keep doing that and never worry.
Yeah.
That's the world now. That would be interesting to me in an hour and a half of action.
And Mike.
Well, you did just remind me of an article I read about recruitment of drone pilots for the US Air Force. And they did find that lads who were good at video games were better at flying drones than lads who were qualified pilots.
Makes sense to me.
It's a different kind of thing.
It's a skill set as well as a philosophy, though. I mean, it's also the fact that they know how to manipulate controls.
They had the best fucking thumbs ever, like, you know.
Wow, all right.
What was his name? Mackay Pfeiffer, was it?
Mackay Pfeiffer. I think,
Mackay, yeah, thanks. I just think it's interesting looking down the cast list. You have Mackay Pfeiffer, Gunner, right? Paul Guilfoyle, Dr. Greer. Then you've got Nia Dunn, Infected, right? Gina Lee, Infected. Stephanie, like, I can't pronounce that. How do you pronounce it? Lanyas, Infected. And then Jonathan Buckhouse, Infected / taxi driver.
So now when they get in a taxi, I know what's about to happen.
Before you go, Steve,
Yeah.
before you go, I have a question for you that I'm sure our listeners want to know the answer to.
Oh, yeah.
What's your zombie apocalypse strategy?
Oh, it's come up to Mike's house. Up to the... He's all tooled up. Yeah.
Fuck it, that's my strategy too. We're going to run our heads. Mike, what's your strategy? What's your plan for game day?
To lock the doors.
He's loaded up the garage with all kinds of tools from Aldi and Lidl and stuff. So.
Well, first step would be to kill the neighbours so they can't be infected and I can get their stuff.
Before they turn. That's ingenious.
Yeah.
This is why we're going to your house.
So then you've got a perimeter.
Yeah, exactly.
A buffer zone, if you will.
Yeah, and I can leave their bodies out for the undead to feed on to buy me more time.
Well, potential flaw there, you're going to attract them, aren't you?
That's just chum in the water, man.
That's it. You see, they're going to be out there and, you know, maybe they'll attract other live people.
What you should do
let's
is
go
you
out
should
and
try
save
find
these
someone-
poor bodies.
Someone living near you that you don't like and leave the bodies outside their house.
Yeah. Evolution of a plan.
I think a boat would work.
That's why I should get the other bed.
Well, actually, the boat was a problem in was it Dawn of the Dead, the remake?
Why was it?
Yeah.
Starring Mackay Pfeiffer. Yes.
Yeah,
yes, that was a problem.
they got to the island and the zombies were already there, and they got fucked up on the landing shore.
Zombies
We
can just
need to
walk
go-
along the ocean bottom. They don't breathe.
Yeah.
All right, it's deep enough
Depending
to go.
on if they're infected runners or classic zombies. Let's come on now.
Well, no, either in World War Z they had to clean out the ocean beds as well.
So what kind of? Oh, okay, yeah, that was my next question. Was what kind of timeline and lifespan are we talking here? But if it's indefinite, we're in trouble. Yeah.
Yeah. I've read articles that say they couldn't survive a winter. Like an actual winter. So they would end up just in the very mild climates.
In World War Z they did.
Oh God, are we really?
You keep going back to World War Z.
It's the handbook. No, it's the handbook. People travelled north, and the snows did freeze the zombies, and they couldn't move. But when spring came, like in Canada and places, when
So
spring
that's all
came,
we've
they
got
thawed
for
out.
this week. So for Mike, Mark, Stephen, Sean, stay classy.
Having a survival plan for the apocalypse is necessary.
Stay tuned.